we should be jumping on whatever technological bandwagon we can jump on such that we get appraisals out faster, more clearly, more convincingly, more persuasively, so long as quality doesn't suffer.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome back to the program, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again in the podcast chair, sponsored today by Alamode Software. Alamode, of course, providing the software for thousands of appraisers across the United States. They are the leader in report writing software for appraisers. Check them out by going to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE, Data Master, leading the pack in saving appraisers time. And folks, I've said it before, I'll say it again. When you save appraisers time, you save appraisers money, because a lot of you are trading your time for money. Datamaster will help you to do more. Datamasterusa.com is where you find out more. Datamasterusa.com. And we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. Folks, I was just on the line with OREP yesterday, talking about some financial matters. And it just never ceases to amaze me what a great group of people there are over there. Isaac and the team, just a great group over at OREP. Check them out. Go to orep.org. If you're with any other E&O, you need to check out OREP, OREP.org. I want to welcome back to the program my good friend, my mentor, and just an all-around good guy, Mr. Tim Andersen. Welcome back, Tim.
Dustin, thank you. How are you?
Oh, fabulous. You know, it's 3 degrees outside, about 3 feet of snow. Life couldn't be better, friend.
Great. That's wonderful. Good.
And how are you?
I'm just lovely and talented. Thank you kindly.
You are both. You are both.
Well, you notice I'm not going to say anything about the weather here, Dustin.
I was just waiting for it. You rub it in. Tim, welcome back to the program. We, on occasion, do what we call the Dear USPAP edition of the podcast, and that is what we're going to do today. And listeners, to set this up, this is when you have written in questions or comments that either come to Tim or myself. Tim, give your email address if you don't mind.
Tim at theappraisersadvocate.com.
Awesome. And Tim is the Appraiser's Advocate. He assists individuals with questions that they might have, or helping to prepare their reports so that you're writing better reports and can hedge against problems down the road. When you have problems, the very first thing, by the way, folks, whenever you reach out to me and you say, Dustin, I got a complaint from the state, what should I do? The next thing out of my mouth is going to be call Tim Andersen. You know that. And Tim does a wonderful job in assisting individuals who might find themselves in that position. But he also does a wonderful job in answering questions that come into the podcast. And we had a couple of those come in, Tim. One of those, rather than read word for word, I'll just set this up. One of my all-star team members, a trainee, by the way, has been training for about a year. And poor gal, she finds out after about 1,000 hours under her belt that her supervisor had not put her name on any of the reports that she had done. She had not signed the left side and the supervisor signed the right. She had not even put her name in a signed certification such as the USPAP addendum. Her name is nowhere to be found on any of the reports. Now, what does she do, Tim?
Dustin, first of all, hooray for trainees. Let's put a big ovation out there for those who are going to come along and follow us in our business. From a standpoint of her name included in the report, I'm not quite sure what that means. As a trainee, she does not need to sign the certification. That just means she's not responsible for the appraisal. The appraiser, her supervising appraiser, however, does need to mention if she has provided significant appraisal assistance. I mean, if she hasn't, she hadn't. She just, hung along for the ride and took a couple of photographs and chatted with the homeowner to keep the homeowner out of the appraiser's hair. No, that's not significant appraisal assistance. So there would be no reason to list that. But if she were to take the photos and go, oh, look, there are 5 bedrooms and only 2 bathrooms. There must be a functional obsolescence issue. Okay, that's significant appraisal assistance. And her supervisor would need to mention in the certification that she provided it, and then mention as well the extent of that significant appraisal assistance. Then what she's also supposed to do is she's got to keep a log to submit to the state as a record of the hours she's putting in. And I don't know how it is in her state because I don't know which state she's in, but most states require there be 2 logs, one the supervisor keeps, one the appraiser keeps. And then they both sign both. Then the state compares them. And if they're not
right?
essentially the same, yeah, the state is going to want to know why. Is it a typo? Is it an error? Or, what's going on? So the supervisor doesn't have to list her in the appraisal if she didn't do anything, tag along and keep the homeowner out of the appraiser's hair. But if she has been participating, if she has been providing significant appraisal assistance, and for whatever reason, the reviewer, the supervisor is not chronicling that properly, then the supervisor is in trouble with the state because that's a USPAP violation. And then she is in trouble with the state as well because that's a USPAP violation, because USPAP says very clearly, hey, appraiser, if you're working for a company or a mentor or a supervisor or a contractor, and that entity is not following USPAP and they know they're not following USPAP, then you'd best seriously consider your relationship with that entity, because you're probably violating USPAP too. So there might be some issues there, Dustin. Without knowing more details, I don't know, but there might be some issues there.
Let me follow up just a little bit, and of course we're keeping this person, confidential, anonymous, if you will, because I did follow up with this individual, and I think she and I talked privately over Messenger, and just to ask some more details. I really don't think this was a malicious thing. I honestly think that the supervisor, I know it sounds silly, but didn't even think about it. This is probably her first trainee. She's used to doing things the way she's doing them. They kept the log. It's not like they were keeping this stuff secret. She's got this log running. And honestly, from the trainee's perspective, I think, again, it just comes down to ignorance, maybe laziness, but I think it was ignorance based on the conversation that I had. Again, they weren't trying to hide anything. I think the supervisor just honestly didn't know what the hell she was doing. And now the trainee is in trouble because the trainee has provided significant assistance on hundreds of appraisal reports, and her name's nowhere to be found. So where does she go from? Not only is this a problem with her getting her license, because she's now, almost has all the hours that she needs to get licensed in whatever state she's in, but now, as you pointed out, she's got a USPAP problem because she provided assistance and her name is not on the report like USPAP requires.
Dustin, you mentioned the supervisory appraiser just forgot it. Well, okay, we're all human. We all have human foibles, but that's also called incompetency.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's clear in USPAP what the supervising appraiser must do. Now, again, I don't know all the details. I have not spoken with this appraiser, so I can't really give detailed advice. But it's based on nothing more than what you've told me. It sounds as if both she and her supervisor are going to have some issues with her state when the log gets turned in and the state says, okay, we went through your log, we want to see these 5 reports. And they come into the state and they don't mention the trainee.
Right.
And let's remember that the record keeping rule says that the appraiser, in this case, meaning the supervisory appraiser, is to have an exact replica, an exact copy of what went to the client. Therefore, it's not possible to go back and say, oops, made a mistake, better add the appraiser. Because then what you're doing is you're changing the appraisal from what you originally certified. And to certify to something that isn't true, in common parlance, is called lying. And that's really not the way you want to approach the state board. Yeah. So she may need to get in touch with the state board. In fact, what I would recommend she do is she get in touch with a past member of the state board and ask the question and see if that person has any advice. But yeah, there's the great potential that both she and her supervisor are going to find themselves getting stale sandwiches when they go to that state appraisal board picnic.
Okay. Tim, there's quite a few trainees and supervisors, for that matter, that listen to this program. Based on what has happened here, what advice would the great appraiser's advocate give to both trainees and supervisors?
Well, as soon as you strike the adjective great, I can answer the question. Dustin, if the trainee is going to sign the report, then the trainee better be happy with every letter, every piece of punctuation, every entity of analysis, every fact, every conclusion in it, because that's exactly what the appraiser says when the appraiser signs the certification. If the appraiser is not going to sign the certification, if the trainee is not going to sign the certification, the trainee still needs to make sure that everything in it is exactly what he or she thought it was going to be, and that the supervising appraiser mentions appraisal assistance. If the trainee did not provide significant appraisal assistance, and let's face it, you don't have to, you still got hours, but then it needs to be clear in the log that goes to the state that, well, appraiser Sally didn't participate directly, did not provide significant appraisal assistance. She was there at the inspection. She watched how the supervising appraiser took pictures. The supervisory appraiser walked her through the appraisal process, etc. Otherwise, the state has no reason to give the trainee appraiser credit for anything.
Wise and sage advice from the wonderful, the marvelous, the fabulous Appraiser's Advocate. We're going to pause here, folks, and remind you that we are sponsored by 3 great companies. One of them being Alamode. Alamode, of course, is the software that I've been using for 26 plus years, almost 27 years now. In fact, I'm coming up on my anniversary in just a few days, Tim. 27 years in the business and always using Alamode. My mentor used Alamode. I have used other software, folks, and great software out there. But to me, Alamode is the most value for what I do, and that is I want to be effective and efficient and accurate at what I do. Alamode.com is where you find out more, or pick up the phone and call them at 800-ALAMODE. Data Master saving appraisers about 40 minutes on average, folks. And I've had people reach out and say, what does that mean, Dustin? 40 minutes where? Where can I save 40 minutes? Well, folks, this is a software that will take the data that you have found. It's not going to find the data for you. Don't worry about that. Some people are worried, like, I don't want a software choosing my comps. No, Data Master does not choose your comps, but of the comparables that you use and you want them in the report, it will download them exactly like they are laid out in your MLS and tax records. If there is a discrepancy, you get to choose which one to use. Again, you're in full control here. The tax records, the assessor parcel number for the subject, and the legal description, and the owner name, and all of this great data can be downloaded directly into your software, whatever software you use, folks. Check them out. If you're interested in saving time with technology and doing it accurately, reach out to Data Master. You can find them at datamasterusa.com. I'm going to say that one more time, write it down. datamasterusa.com. And finally, we're sponsored by OREP Insurance. I mentioned at the top of the program, I was on the phone with OREP just recently, speaking to an individual over there. It was not Isaac, but one of Isaac's colleagues. And folks, I tell you, this company is not your typical insurance company. This company is, the best way I can describe it is a customer service company, meaning when I call, they treat me like a VIP. They listened, they knew what I needed, and immediately got me what I needed. And folks, I'll tell you, I have not been treated like that anywhere else when it comes to E&O. Check them out. Go to orep.org. That's OREP.org. And welcome back to the program. We're speaking with the Appraiser's Advocate, the USPAP expert, Mr. Tim Andersen. Welcome back.
Hi, Dustin. Thank you. It is great to be here with you.
Well, thank you. On occasion, folks, we do take questions from the listeners, and had another question come in. Not really, I mean, everything, I guess, is kind of a USPAP thing, right? This is not really a USPAP thing, but I would love to get your take on this, Tim. And really, let's talk about the USPAP aspects of this next question. The question came in from, again, one of my All-Star team members who asked about desktops. As you know, Tim, Fannie Mae is moving more and more in the direction of hybrids and desktops specifically, and there's been some clarification, some qualifications come out from Fannie Mae regarding desktops. And one of the things that they have said, and I'm paraphrasing, but if you do a desktop appraisal, appraisers, and it's for Fannie Mae, or at least could be sold on the secondary market for Fannie Mae, they will not accept the desktop unless it has a floor plan attached, at least on the subject, okay? A floor plan, not a sketch. They specifically don't say sketch, they say floor plan. I guess I need to find out, what is that? And number two, how is it a desktop if we're getting a floor plan? Tim, what say you?
Dustin, there are, okay, let me back up even further. First of all, given what's happened in the last 18, 24 months, Fannie has come to understand that appraisers not putting boots in the living room did not result in any statistically significant increase in foreclosures.
Yeah.
So Fannie's saying, okay, maybe we never needed to do it in the first place. So it's gone to what it calls the desktop, which is really not all that much different than a drive-by. You don't put boots in the living room either. You don't put boots in the living room there either. So this is where not only do you not put boots in the living room, you don't even put boots in the car. So it's all done from your desktop. Now, the issue of the floor plan appears to be a bit of an irony, because, well, how in the world can I do a floor plan if I don't put boots in the living room? Hello. Well, first of all, understand that the floor plan applies solely to desktops. If you're doing a traditional appraisal, you can still do a sketch. But remember, Fannie Mae is going to send a contractor through the house first. And that contractor is going to provide enough data, or let me rephrase, the contractor is supposed to provide enough data
Nice
that with the proper software, supposed to provide it, so that with the proper software, you get a floor plan. Now, I'm going to mention Cubicasa. I'm not trying to shill for Cubicasa. That's not the point. But Cubicasa will handle all that for you. However, that means that somebody's got to go through the house with Cubicasa.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that's a contractor. Maybe that is the homeowner.
Oh, heaven forbid.
But ideally, Dustin, anything efficient, we just got to get rid of. Ideally, Dustin, and this is a backhanded way Fannie Mae is trying to help the appraiser. It should be a trainee that does it. So you, Dustin, don't put boots in the living room, but Michelle, your associate, does, and goes through with Cubicasa. And then Cubicasa, through the magic of trigonometry and calculus and pixie dust, comes up with a floor plan. Now, there are those who've said, well, Cubicasa might not get all the corners and ridges and nooks and crannies. Yeah, it might not. But it's not terribly difficult to, once your trainee knows how to use it, it's not terribly difficult to account for that. And then remember, the report doesn't go from Cubicasa, the drawing, the floor plan doesn't go from Cubicasa to your report. It goes from Cubicasa to some guru high on a windswept mountain in some sparsely populated country who turns it into something reasonable and then sends it back to you. So you've got contractors out there doing a lot of work, and Cubicasa and like programs are basically as accurate as an appraiser. And let's face it, there are accusations of appraisers not being terribly accurate. So not putting boots in the living room, you've heard of those. So not putting boots in the living room, Dustin, in and of itself is not a real problem. Now, appraisers have said, well, then should I make my appraisal report subject to the extraordinary assumption that the data I get from a contractor is accurate? Well, if you want to, but you don't need to, because you get your data from a contractor now. It's called MLS. Or you get your data from a contractor now. It's called Andersen. Yeah. So we're really not doing that much different. What Fannie is trying to do is, well, I think you were mentioning in a recent podcast that the typical appraisal turnaround time is something like 17 days.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Whereas the typical mortgage turnaround time is lunch. So we're you like that? Okay, I'll remember that. All right. That was good. So basically, Dustin, you and I are the big holdups. And it's because, and you're going to get hate mail for this, and keep it to yourself. Don't forward it to me. Okay. Appraising is still antiquated. I mean, we still do stuff by hand, which is absolutely silly. So we should be jumping on whatever technological bandwagon we can jump on, such that we get appraisals out faster, more clearly, more convincingly, more persuasively, so long as quality doesn't suffer. And one of the reasons Fannie is going to all this trouble is because it feels that even with these, I'm going to use the word impositions, even with these impositions, the quality of the appraisal is not going to go down, which is kind of a backhanded swipe at us, because they're implying it's not going to go up either. And that's a shame, because Fannie Mae should be able to look at any appraiser and say, okay, there is an expert whom I trust. And unfortunately, generally they don't. That's why they have a reviewer at the bank level. They have a reviewer at the AMC level. They have a reviewer at their audit level. And then Fannie Mae has reviewers at their audit level. And typically, the appraisal passes muster, typically. But when it doesn't, then somebody's going to want to know why. And the appraiser is going to have to go back and explain why. And sometimes it's because the appraiser made a mistake. Sometimes it's because the damn reviewer didn't read the appraisal. Well, okay. But we've got to understand that once it leaves our desk, it's not done. It's active. It's there. It's available for anybody to peruse until that loan is paid off.
Wise wise information and good information for any appraiser. Tim, how do people get a hold of you if they are in need of your services?
Dustin, walk outside and wave a $100 bill, and I will be in touch with you as quickly as I possibly can.
I'll tell you, if
That's
I had a $100 bill, I'd do
failing.
it.
That's failing. Contact me at tim@theappraisersadvocate.com.
Thank you, Tim. It's always a pleasure having you on the program, and I look forward to the next time. Have a great day, my friend.
Dustin, thank you. I do too. My best to your family. We'll be in touch.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.
The supervisor doesn't have to list the appraiser in the report if the supervisor, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Editor. Excuse me, I apologize. All right. In 3, in 2, in 1.